Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a real treat. We have an amazing, spectacular woman who I absolutely love. We have with us today the incredibly awesome Dr. Lisa Sulsenti. Dr. Sulsenti is a chiropractor, nutritionist, author, and autism coach. She currently owns Atlantic Coast Chiropractic, a wellness center with her husband in Brick, New Jersey, where she has helped thousands of patients over the past 17 years in achieving their health and wellness goals through good chiropractic care, nutrition, and her amazing program that she's going to be telling us about today. She has helped patients that have come in with heart disease, high blood pressure, digestive problems, thyroid disorders, hormonal imbalances, fibromyalgia, allergies, back and joint pains, headaches, autism, you name it. She has just helped so many people with so many things. She is the creator and mastermind behind drlisasulsenti.com. I'm going to make sure that you guys have a link so that you can connect with her afterward. I know you're going to want to because you're just going to love her. This website is dedicated to creating healthy and thriving families with chronic health issues and ASD. She is also the author of The Over Tilted Child, creating a sensational classroom for kids with autism spectrum disorders, sensory processing disorders, and ADD or ADHD. And she is the owner of her one-of-a-kind online nutrition program, the Kind Gut program, which helps people improve chronic health issues through detecting vitamin and mineral deficiencies and repairing leaky gut imbalances. So, Lisa, would you like to give us a brief hello today?
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you are incredibly busy with all that you have going on there in the world of Sulsenti and all that you're doing to help so many people. And so I am incredibly grateful that you took your time out today to come and talk to us. So, you know, your story, from what I have gotten to hear of it in talking to you, is just incredible. So can you share with us a little bit about you and what really got you in on this journey to, you know, helping people with health the way you do?
Okay, first, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it because I know you're just as busy. So, when I really love talking health with anyone. So yeah, I graduated, my undergraduate degree was in nutrition. So I always had that knack for, you know, the body and health. And I, at a very young age, just connected to the fact that medicine doesn't always help situations. My personal journey was having severe allergies my whole life. And, you know, my mom dragging me to the pediatrician and getting shots in my arm that would just knock me out and put me to sleep. And I used to say, you know, he's like, oh, you're feeling better? And I'm like, yeah, because I slept for like, you know, 6 hours. Of course I feel better. So I never really, in my personal experience, saw the connection between, in certain scenarios, medicine helping. So what happened is I injured myself in college. I was very athletic and although klutzy. So that's, you know, the combination of being athletic and klutzy, you can get hurt, which I did often. So I ended up in a chiropractor's office and on campus or near campus, and a friend took me and had nothing to do with my parents. And he was fixing my neck, which would I hurt. And then all of a sudden I noticed my allergies were getting better. So of course I had to, you know, ask the question. I was a very outspoken child. So I was like, hey, does anything have to do with your fixing my neck that all of a sudden, you know, I don't have allergies and sinus infections and bronchitis and the whole thing that I go through? And he was like, oh my gosh, yes. So he explained to me the power of the nervous system and the body and its ability to heal itself. Now, meanwhile, I was like kind of maybe going to do physical therapy. I had checked out pre-med, but again, I just didn't have the passion in my heart between medicine. I mean, there is a place for medicine, but I didn't have that passion for it. And I was at school in nutrition, but like still not knowing like exactly what I was going to do with nutrition. So my story was, fast forward, is I basically overcame my allergies through chiropractic. And then I was like, oh my gosh, if I can do this for one person in my lifetime, if I help one person, I've served the Lord amazingly. And I've done I've done great. So I was like, that was my goal, was to get into chiropractic school and help one person. And I just didn't feel like that they had to go through what I went through with getting shots and stuff like that. Like I thought, why didn't my mom know about this? Like, why doesn't pediatricians talk about this? So I got into chiropractic school, which has a ton of nutrition, and it's different from the medicinal nutrition that I did in my undergraduate. That was a lot of like diabetic type things in the hospital. So now I'm into the world where I was in Northern California, where all the girls were like very natural and growing their own foods, and there were some older women would have their own gardens and their own animals. And I'm from Jersey, like, you know, we have farms, but you know, I live at the shore. No one's got a cow they're milking in the backyard. So I was, and everybody smoked here and drinks here. So I was like, wow, you know, this is just amazing. And so my journey took off. And then, which led me to here, is I wound up having a child with autism spectrum disorders. And why this is really connects is because having a practice with nutrition, you're basically doing diabetes and weight loss and things like that. And I wasn't really tapping into chronic health issues or neurological issues because I didn't have the experience of that yet until I had a child who's a picky eater, won't eat, hates food, has a mom that, you know, made all my own baby food. And I was like, what do you mean you're not going to eat? Like, what do you mean you don't like food? So it was really what brought me forward to today of, you know, finding out that the gut is really the connection between the brain and the organs and the body, as well as the nervous system and the spine. So I can get more into that, but that's my journey. Like, it's really my child having a neurological disorder and having to deal with it as a professional and a mother. And you got to get these kids to eat. You can't just say, oh, you know, he's a picky eater and he's just not going to eat, because you're not going to help a health issue. You know, you're just going to make a health issue worse. So I quickly learned in that moment, wow, food is thy medicine for thy autism, you know, and that's how I went with that.
Really, you have just, I love, you know, every time I get to see you and talk to you, and the more I get to know you, I mean, I love how you bring it, man, with the health field, like, and just show such a love for people and a care for people, a genuine heart for people, in helping them to get there, because it's so hard. You know, sometimes we look at like what's going on in the household, and it's just, we have all these obstacles and challenges, and it becomes very hard to implement a plan to stay on track with our health. Like it's kind of one of those things where like, oh, I just can't deal with that right now. And so it sounds like you being a nutritionist, dealing with what you had to deal with your son and him not wanting to eat those foods. How did you press through that time, and how do you feel like that has impacted your family on the other side of it?
Well, it definitely was a hellacious journey. There wasn't anything easy having a child with autism spectrum disorders. Like, we couldn't go anywhere. I mean, restaurants were a nightmare, the amusement park, school was a nightmare. It was a lot of sensory issues, a lot of anxiety, a lot of oppositional and behavior. So my journey was not easy and whatsoever. And there were moments where you pick your battles, and there were times where I was like, you know what, food's just not going to be the battle. Like, I've got way more serious things going on. But what happened, we kind of fell into it. One thing is, I've never gave up. Even though at times you might not have that food battle, there might be moments where you're going to say, I'm not having this right now. He can have a bowl of cereal. I'm just done, you know, because he loved crunchy stuff. If I was at my mom's house and he wasn't going to have what she served, which was like all the time, I just didn't have the battle. So there was times and places, there was moments where I didn't have my strength, or I just wasn't going to have it. But I never gave up. It is definitely it's just having the courage to just keep going and going and going and going. And I believe, like, when you plant seeds, they will grow within the mind and the body. So it's about not expecting the result. This is huge. You cannot expect the result to happen overnight, nor can it might not happen in a year. But the more, and this goes for like really any child, because you've got the extreme picky eater like me, but then you've got just the, kid that's just a picky eater. Then you've got the kid who's like the manipulator. And then you've got the kid who just maybe eats too much too. I had the other child that just eats everything. So to me, it was always about, it's a journey, they're born and then they're going to be 18 and go on their own into college or something like that. So you need to teach them as much as you can and hope that it sticks in their mind that it's going to happen. And what I've learned is it does. As long as you're being the example and you're bringing healthy foods into the home and you're playing with it and you're making it fun and it's not stressful, it does happen quicker. Then it doesn't take 18 years. But, you know, you could be like 16, you could have a 16-year-old right now on this, you're listening to this, you could have a 14-year-old, just go for it. You know, one thing is like, don't bring the crap in your house. That's the first thing. And the second thing is introduce them to food. Like, we can get into that, but I mean, and I know you do it really well with too. And I love like your books and your, you know, the way you bring it into the kids. You know, they need to learn how to cook. They need to touch the food and smell the food and play with the food and shop for the food. And I'm a big thing, like if they haven't holds an orange, I'll ask them, I was like, hey, what does an orange do for your body? You know, why is this such a healthy thing? Like, why does mom say, eat the orange, you know? Mm-hmm. So education, 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 and play, you know, that's I hope that answered that question.
Yeah. Well, and you know, one of the things you said that I really appreciated, and it kind of sums up a lot of my approach, and you know, between the kids stuff and with you know, working with moms through Eden Life is that planting seeds. You know, it can be easy for us to kind of come to a place where we're just like, man, we just got to make these changes and let's just do it, you know. But the journey doesn't happen overnight. You know, it takes time. And, you know, you talking about even with like getting your kids on board and having the family on board. Cause I know like with a lot of women, one thing I hear over and over is, I want to eat this way, but my family won't do it with me. And it kind of becomes this, really awkward challenge, because you have mom wants to eat better, but mom wants to satisfy the needs, or the not needs, but the requests and desires of everybody else in the household. And then so she eats that way, and then it kind of keeps perpetuating a cycle that becomes very difficult for mom to break free from. But then you see like you know, like you were talking about, like the perseverance, like when we stick it out and we persevere, even if it's just, you know, mom blazing the trail herself, you know, sticking to it, and just, you know, understanding that there are going to be some days that it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
The crapola hits the fan.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't do this today. But like you said, you got to keep just picking up and pressing forward and moving on, and knowing that on the other side of that, you know, where you do have the good days and the bad days and the mixture of everything in between, but with that perseverance and sticking through, that incredible things happen on the other side of it. You know, that people can achieve like really awesome results with their health.
I think that sometimes, because I've seen so many moms now, and I completely agree that a lot of them are saying, I can't get everybody else on board. And the thing I say to that is, you're in charge. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what you say. Like, you're in charge of the kitchen. You're in charge of what you feed your child. So, you know, I don't know what it is sometimes with our mentality as mothers, but we worry about them when they're in our womb. We wouldn't eat a bad thing pregnant, right? And then they come out, you still want to make sure that they get all the nutrition. You're running back and forth to the pediatrician, and you're so worried, you know. And then something happens where you just stop caring what your kids eat. Really, I mean, it is about there's a mentality shift of, you know, I don't know, because I see what some of these, especially when they get to the school years, but driving through McDonald's, and I'm sorry, but all those things are the mother choosing to do that. It's not the kids. The kids not driving themselves to McDonald's. It's not the kids going to the food store and picking out the junk food and the crap. You know, that's the mother or the father, but you mentioned mothers, so we're going to put this on the mothers right now. So there is a mentality at some point where the mothers, and I've been there, so it's not that I'm on any kind of pedestal. I'm just telling you through 20-something years of experience that there's a shift that occurs that you need to actually think about and realize that you made that shift, you made that choice. You have to like say, hey, you know what? I'm the adult. I really am in charge of what my children eat. And it's really not, hey, they won't get on board. It's really me not getting them on board.
Well, and I think too, like something you said, is that we have to be intentional in our choosing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we recognize that maybe we haven't always, because I know for myself, it was a long time, you know, I wasn't always making the best choices, and there are still some days that are just like off days where maybe something slides that wouldn't normally slide or something like that. But you know, we when we recognize that we do have the choice, then we can be intentional about making the choices to get everything back on track. So I could just go on here, but I know you've got a lot going on. So I'm going to reroute over to another question I was going to bring up. A large part of your work now centers around nutritional testing and healing the gut. Why focus on the gut?
Great question. And I wanted to just say real quick on that comment I was making, it's really about mindfulness. Like you said, intention, you know, it's not about being perfect, because if you're trying to be perfect, it's not going to happen. So you have to be able to forgive yourself and let the days that you do take them to McDonald's, or you do make the mistake, or you do it wrong, you have to forgive yourself. And the next day, don't do that. You know, it's really about mindfulness. But for me, I would say, so when I was trying to help my son, Luke, because I'm in the chiropractic field, nutrition field, we have to take continuing education credits and go to seminars and stuff like that. And there was one years ago, because he's 16 now, so it's years ago, that was autism is linked to gluten, or ADD is linked to red dye. It's very limited, but this was the idea back then. Of course, I would be like, I'm going to that seminar. Like, how the heck does a red dye have anything to do with the brain? And where does gluten? It's in your gut. How does it? What's it got to do with autism? If you think about it, it's ridiculous. So I started learning how the gut actually, so 80% of your immune system's in the gut. That's number one. Number two, when you eat certain foods, especially this point it was gluten, or it could be a dye. At this point, it could be like GMOs. It can be man-made ingredients that are in foods. It can be pesticides. There's a whole list of them. But when you eat a certain food, I was learning that the body might not recognize the food, and it'll attack it. And then when it attacks it, it creates this immune response, like a big storm, I call it, in the gut. Your gut is 20 feet long. When we talk about the gut, we don't talk about, it's not the stomach. It's your, small intestine, large intestine, colon, rectum. It's 20 feet long in all of us. It's huge. So you're creating this storm. And the more you ignore it, the more chronic it gets. And so the story is different for everybody, because I might do well with gluten, you may not, right? I might do okay with peanuts, you might not. So there's certain foods that our bodies just attack. They think it's foreign, and they just start this whole storm. And when the storm gets to a point, it releases harmful chemicals. And histamine's one of them, which you get a buildup of histamine in the body, which is why you have a ton of allergies. But these little Pac-Men that get released, specifically called cytokines, they get into the bloodstream because they poke holes in the cellular lining of your intestine, and they actually go through it. They're not supposed to do that. Nothing's supposed to kind of do that. And then they get into the bloodstream, and then once they're in the bloodstream, they're like little taxis. They can go anywhere they want to go. And at the current research was they would go to the brain and bother and aggravate the neurological system in there. That would have to do with attention, impulsivity, behaviors, focus, stuff like that. But then we learned it's also affecting mood, anxiety, all the other areas of that system in the brain. But then we noticed in the recent years, hey, it's not just autism. It's also thyroid. It's also joint pain and fibromyalgia and reproductive problems and PCOS and all this other stuff. So what they've learned in the most recent research is these little Pac-Man things, they go anywhere they want to go. And they'll create havoc wherever they go, wherever they end up in your body, which again, the story is different for everybody. So I jumped on the bandwagon of bringing this into the office. Of course, I've worked on my son and saw the amazing results, and then was like, oh my gosh, this is just super in helping patients. And I went in it not expecting any results, but got phenomenal results. So that's why we are today, where it's just it's amazing how much the gut is really responsible for what's going on in the body.
Yeah, and so we see a lot of like our standard American way of eating really just, it seems like banging and banging its way through our systems, doing a lot of damage, huh? Since you've brought this into your practice, what kind of changes have you seen in your patients?
Oh, it's amazing. Like, so when you bring something new to your practice, I bring it with intention, like you said. And I know I'm going to get people better, but this particular program, I don't know, it just wowed me. So what we saw, my very first patient was a PCOS patient, polycystic ovary syndrome, and she had 10 cysts on her ovaries. She was pre-diabetic, thyroid problem, you know, overweight, young, 26 years old, just a mess. And she came to me and goes, I'm not going on all these medications. There's 3 medications he wanted to put her on. And she's like, I'm not doing them, 26 years old. And so she wanted to learn to eat better. We vitamin and mineral test her, which is really, really important part of the program, because vitamin deficiencies and mineral deficiencies, it just themselves create health problems. You need vitamins and you need minerals to be healthy, to just not have certain diseases. But you also can be deficient in vitamins and minerals if you have a leaky gut, because a leaky gut doesn't absorb. So you can eat healthy actually, but have a leaky gut and not absorb vitamins and minerals. So that's a whole another type of patient. But so we saw PCOS get better. She, after 2 or 3 months, had 1 cyst left on the ovary, was not pre-diabetic, had no thyroid problem. So I was like, first patient out of the gate, I was like, what? And this was, you know, her going to her OBGYN and her practitioner, actually, they were seeing me because they thought I was a joke and she was wasting her time. And then when it came full circle, they called me and they were like, what did you do? And I'm like, it's just teaching a person to eat real food, like food, and also avoid the things that would create a leaky gut and also heal the leaky gut, you know, and then fix vitamin mineral deficiencies. And they were like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, whatever you did, great. And then so that moved from PCOS, and then we also have done tons of thyroid problems. That was just big. That seems to be really common in women, especially about 40 and up. Diabetes, we've brought people with insulin, you know, taking insulin at 160 down to maybe 50 or 30. And now they're trying to move off their meds with their doctor. I mean, I don't do that. The doctors get so excited when they see the patient get better that they're like, just keep doing what you're doing. I don't even know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it's working. So diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia is huge. That's probably the #1 thing. The chronic fatigue syndrome too. That seems to be really big. And then kids definitely with anxiety behavior spectrum disorders is they're getting better and better as, you know, as they keep seeing me, and as the mom is just doing amazing. The moms are just amazing with the kids, because it's probably the hardest nut to crack, you know. So it's amazing. It's just, those are the things that are going on, and it's totally fun, you know.
Well, and it's got to be awesome, like getting to see people as they're going through that transition, where they're making their way from being over here, where a lot of them are feeling almost kind of hopeless, or just really just, you know, down and out with any number of diseases or conditions and pain and all of the mess that goes along with that. And then to get to experience the gift of seeing them as they're getting better and they're feeling more energetic and they're enjoying their lives again, like that seems like it would just be incredible for you to get to see, like, day to day. There's something you had mentioned was talking about doing like I'm just going to kind of throw this one in there. You were talking about addressing the vitamin and mineral deficiencies and how important that is for helping the body to get in a position where it can really heal itself, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know that a lot of people, especially nowadays, we're starting to get, you know, back to being more health conscious, and we think, okay, well, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, you know, why not just go to the store, just pick up a multivitamin, you know, run to Walmart or something, grab a multi and call it good, you know. Why would you maybe advise against that, or what approach do you think is really better for people to get a real view on what they need to do to get their nutrition back on track?
That's an excellent point, and I'm really strong about that point. So there's 2 things to say here. One is, you should never take a supplement if you do not know you're deficient in it. And that's just backwards. And it's not healthy for the body, because some of them we do pee out, but some of them we don't. So some of them are toxic. So what we do is we test a whole gamut of vitamins and minerals. And believe me, what you think you're deficient in, a lot of times you're not. And what you think you're fine in, you are. I've seen it across the board. And a lot of women come in swearing they have a thyroid problem because they're exhausted. And they have no B vitamins. So, and the thyroid's fine. You take B vitamins and really it's their thyroid. So you know what I'm saying? Like it's just, you just don't want to take a vitamin. Because I'm in the autism world, it's very typical for the autism world for a parent to hear, oh, vitamin D works or B12 works, or he might have the MTHFR gene. I'm going to have to supplement for that. And they just start giving their kids something, hoping, that the behavior gets better or something like that. And I say that the worst thing you can do is supplement something that you're not deficient in, because that, again, is going to create another problem that you don't need. I had a patient that her problem was she couldn't sleep. I tell everybody this story because she was wired. So she thought it was her thyroid being hyper. So she came in and we did the whole, testing. She had B vitamins so high that I've never seen. It was just so high. And even though they say, oh, it's safe to just keep taking whatever you want to take, I said to her, and I didn't know she was taking B vitamins. When she saw them, she goes, oh, it's working. And I'm like, I don't think you need them. And that's probably why you're hyper, because it's an energy thing with B vitamins, So I actually took her off whatever she was taking. She was buying them at Costco or wherever. And she all of a sudden she got better and she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had too much. And I was like, yeah, it's not something you take. Plus, if you're eating healthy, you're getting Bs, right? So now you're getting Bs in a natural form. And that's the other point I want to make. So there's synthetic vitamins, there's whole food vitamins, and then there's food. And when you see me, the first thing I will always talk about is food. So if you're deficient in a certain vitamin, I'm going to give you a list of foods that you should eat that are going to give you that vitamin. And again, of course, if you have a leaky gut, we need to heal that. So when you eat those foods, that vitamin is absorbed and converted. So I'm all about food and not supplements. And I only give a supplement if I see a scenario where somebody's really depleted in something and possibly the food is just not going to be high enough, or they don't like the foods, or we have some kind of situation. And the one supplement that I go towards is called whole food supplements, which basically means that the company grows their own food, they freeze extract it, and I definitely get an organic company that has no pesticides, no GMOs. It's all great, gluten-free, whatever. And it's really just whole food. So if we're doing a certain vitamin, they pull it from foods and herbs and things like that. So that's called whole food, coming from food. The other kind is synthetic, which is basically meaning it's made in the lab. It's what you see in foods when they fortify foods. It's what you'd see like if you were to run to Costco and get like a vitamin D3 or something like that. And those are my least favorite for two reasons. One, if they're not organic, which many of them aren't because they're synthetically made, they can have so many different good ingredients in it. Turn it over and you can have a lot of bad things that are actually going to cause a leaky gut. So to me, it's like, you put yourself in a catch-22. You're trying to fix a problem. You're taking a supplement that has GMOs or has like a toxic ingredient in it, a neurotoxin, a dye, something like that. And then you're putting it in your gut and you're creating leaky gut. So to me, that's silly. They're less absorbable too, the synthetic vitamins. And the biggest thing that I hear in the nutrition world is you have to get the highest quality grade synthetic, pharmaceutical type grade synthetic vitamin. Don't go to Costco because it's all junk and fillers. I can honestly tell you, if you have the food or you eat the whole food organic stuff, you get just as good results, because I test you and then I retest you, and my products we bring down the deficiencies with food and we bring down the deficiencies with whole food supplements. I do believe that the cleaner the supplement, the better. So if you go to Costco, there are going to be a lot of fillers in there, a lot of junk in there. Yes, but don't be fooled. Some of the pharmaceutical companies or the big companies that are like in chiropractic office, a lot of nutritionists are using, and I don't want to mention companies, but turn those things over and you're going to see a lot of like bad things in the ingredients. So some of the pharmaceutical grade companies do take out GMOs. They are a little bit cautious of it, but remember, they're made in a lab, and I'm not into that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I like that you emphasize in your practice, with your nutrition program and everything, that whole food nutrition, you know,
Yeah.
because our bodies, even when a person in a lab looking under a microscope maybe even couldn't tell the difference between a man-made vitamin and an actual whole food vitamin, our bodies recognize the difference. And it's important that we're getting them from good sources too, because you know, it is a package deal. I believe that the way God made our food, you know, it's like all inclusive. You know, there are so many things in it beyond like just that one vitamin or mineral that we're hoping to get, where everything kind of comes together and works synergistically, not only for absorption, but also for our bodies to properly metabolize them, properly utilize them, and all of that. So I just love that you really just help people understand the importance of whole food nutrition. And I think that's one thing I try to emphasize through any of my efforts, I know, is you know, forget these trend diets and the fad diets, and look past, you know, we go to the store and we see certain labels and just think, oh, well, just because it's, you know, vegan, or just because it's gluten-free or something like that, that it must be healthy. And it's like, no, you got to like look past that, look at what's actually going in it, how it's actually made, how it's actually grown, and look for stuff that is good whole food, you know, good whole foods the way they were made to be to begin with. So
Yeah, and it's such an important point, because that's typically why they're in the boat they're in, because the food choices are poor. I rarely get somebody that eats really, really healthy and has an issue. It's sometimes I have a few cases, and it's like, could be a candida thing, could be a fungus thing. It's just a different story. But typically they're in the boat, they're sitting in front of me, they're in the office because they don't eat well. You know, the picky sensory eater only eats 3 things. You know what I mean? The guy that is eating the American typical diet is not eating enough whole foods that are, you know, healthy. So you have got to address that, you know, and once you address that, a lot of these vitamin things go away. You know, you don't, I had somebody that had so many deficiencies, and like you said, she was like, I need D, I need C, I need K, because they synergistically work together. And she was like, so what do I have to do? Take these 15 vitamins? And I'm like, no, we're going to work on a few, but you need to change the way you eat entirely. Like, you know, and you know, your dairy and your carbs and your restaurant eating, you know, and your fast food eating, there's no vitamins there.
yeah. Well, and it's totally doable. You know, I hear a lot of people say, well, I just don't like eating that way. But, you know, when you start really giving the body, you know, I tell a lot of people, when you start giving the body what it needs, it starts getting rid of what it doesn't.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, an incredible work starts to happen, and your tastes change, and your preferences change, and your mindset changes. But it just takes sticking to it and being intentional and persevering, like you had to, you know, persevere through the time, and you see on the other side of it that you know, there's just incredible things that can happen, not only in yourself but in all of those around you. You become, you know, an inspiration on top of it all, which is a great gift when you can go out and spread that life to other people. So I am going to go ahead and let us wrap up, because I know that I could just keep you here all day. I could.
I know. I could talk to you all day.
Just keep you here, like we'll just keep talking till tomorrow, you know, let it roll on. But if you could leave our guests today with one little takeaway, one little nugget that could radically change their health, what would that be?
I would say that if you're not feeling well, if you're having digestive issues or any kind of symptoms where you just aren't feeling right, you feel like there's something wrong, this is what I say to people: just go when you're in the food store, and whatever you typically buy, start turning over the box and read the ingredients. And what I want you to do, take a picture with your phone and go home, have your kids do this, because the kids learn so much, and start Googling some of those ingredients and find out what you're really eating. And I really mean this, because it's one of the lessons that I do even before leaky gut. It's just a lesson that I give out to people. And I said, make a list of all, and you're going to realize the more you look at foods, the fact is you're going to see this list. You're going to have all these lists of big words, and they're going to be in all your foods. So it's not going to get overwhelming. But start and have your kids start doing it and learn what, you know, high fructose corn syrup is, and learn what, you know, a sulfite is or a nitrate is, and things like that. And just start educating yourself, and you'll understand, oh my gosh, I'm putting in this chemical. And read it. What's the pros of them? What's the cons of them? Are they beneficial to the body? What, you know, what do they do? And it's just a little bit of a Googling. It's not overwhelming. And that's my suggestion, because that to me is a catalyst of, do I really want to eat like this? You know?
Yeah.
And even when you see vitamins listed on a box, if the food isn't like growing, like you said, God didn't make it in the field, it's in a box, it's synthetic, you know? So think that too, when you're putting vitamin D down or vitamin D down, ask yourself, is this a natural form or is it a synthetic form?
Very good. You know, a lot of times in our house, we just simply say, you know what, if you can't read it, don't eat it. You know, can't read it, don't eat it. If I flip over a box and there's like this laundry list of ingredients, even if it says on it all natural, even if it says organic, if it's like a long laundry list and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, not so much, you know, let's go back over here, like where I can name everything, like, okay, I've got my onions, I've got my celery, I've got, just piece together. But yeah, just get into a place of recognizing it. And I think there's something that really shifts when we even make it a point to look up one thing. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I find with a lot of people, it's almost like flipping a switch. Like once there's that awareness triggered, it's kind of like that place, like you can't go back, like you can't, you know, not know again. And things just kind of, you know, I know for me, just snowballed. Like when I started becoming aware of what was actually in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how can I even justify putting this in my body? I can't do that, you know. And you make progress each time, you know, each day you learn, and each day you make progress.
And that goes back to when, you know, I was a little tougher before, but I get tough because you have to be tough with helping people move forward. And you say to the mom, you're in control. It's not them, it's you. When I was getting tough before, it's partly not all the mom's fault, because they just don't know. I mean, and that might sound, people say, oh, that they're just being ignorant. No. Like, it's so much misinformation out there. The media is so confusing. Advertising is confusing. And if you haven't taken a nutrition class and you haven't taken it in the right setting, you know, because some of the schools are more medicinal, how would a mother know really what they're feeding their child? You know, they're going to think like, you know, this box of whatever is really healthy, and they might just not know. So that's why one of the lessons, I say, you need to go off and do this lesson and then let me know what you've learned. They come in and go, oh my God, did you know? And I was like, really? Yeah, that's awesome. You know, so part of that question that you said in the beginning, you know, when the mother goes, you know, I just can't get everybody else on board. Part of it is that she has to, because it's her job, but she needs the education behind it. And that shift in that mindset is really, this lesson is really, I think once a mom really starts knowing those chemicals and really what she's feeding her child, she might as well be giving them a cigarette. Do you know what I'm saying? And when she realizes the connection between, hey, some of this food is just as harmful as a cigarette, you know, or a beer, the mom starts getting like, I really can't do this anymore, right?
Yeah, well, we do have to get past a lot of the misconceptions or the misunderstandings and stuff like that. You know, it can seem overwhelming, but that's why I'm grateful. You know, you have people like yourself. You're doing articles and your site and everything where and your programs where you provide people with, you know, easy to eat, easy to absorb, easy to consume information that people can grab and take with them and learn as they go. You know, because we all are incredibly busy, but we can add little bits of education, health education in, and it can have huge results. So I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us, to share some of your knowledge. You guys, I'm telling you, you got to hook up with this lady, because she is just a wealth of information, just a wealth of knowledge. Like I could just sit there and just eat it up all day. But in the meantime, we're going to cut out of here. Lisa, before we go, can you tell us real quick where everybody can find you?
Oh, sure. Best place to get a hold of me is my website. So it's www.Dr. Lisa, L-I-S-A, Sulsenti. So that's SULSENTI, and it's .com. So drlisasulsenti.com. And yeah, look around, surf around, have some fun. And if you need to contact me, that you can contact me through the email there. And there's also a leaky gut quiz there, which is really fun to do. So you click on that and you're going to take the quiz. It's a little 4-minute quiz, and it's just going to go through your health issues or your child's. And I'll get that. That'll go to my inbox, and I'll give you your results. Will go to your inbox, and we can start communicating that way too if you have any questions. But thank you so much for having me on, because again, my mission has always been, if we can just change one family now. So now I'm off to one family at a time. Then, you know, we serve the Lord the best we can, and that's what this is all about.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments below. What are some of your favorite takeaways, or maybe even aha or eureka moments that you might have had in hearing listening in on our little conversation here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I am so glad that you guys are getting to be a part of this journey with us. And I so very much look forward to hearing your stories and how you just where you're at on your journey and all the progress that you're making. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day, and we'll look forward to connecting with you more soon. Thanks. Bye.